actually happened a couple months ago. I've only told 3 people. My son once, my friend once, as we were leaving after hanging out. He's like, okay, bye-bye. And he shut the door. And my wife about 24 times.
Hey, babe. Did I tell you I found pi?
I haven't told anyone else until here. I think that's a good place to start today, and also invite the psych and neuroscientists into the equation. After 5 years of every day, all day, trying to digest this, the last 2 isolated, I'm hyper-vigilant about checking my crazy. I have a lot of questions, starting with, is it even possible for a mind to make up a story about before it even exists? Because we're going to watch the math of mind turned on, then the mind turn on, and then later enter the body and the brain turn on. So this has nothing even to do with the mind whatsoever. Next question for mathematicians. An infinitely empty structure and full are nearly the same thing experientially. If you were to ask an infinite structure, how many ways are there for you to exit yourself, know yourself, reveal yourself to yourself? You would imagine the answer would be infinite. The question is, mathematically, is it possible for there to only be one way, even though it's infinite? It sure feels like there's one way. Anyway, I have a lot of questions. The psychological sciences, I think, are aligned with it. The ancient East teachings, which is sweet for a while now. See, surrender, look at, let go, recognize, release. And the neuros have concluded that everything comes from consciousness. High five. Yeah, it's not that crazy, right? Well, how nutso are we coming off here? Do we really think we found pi? On premise, no. However, I wouldn't doubt for one single moment that it would be in here. It's the first story in the math of life. You can't go back any farther. So if that's true, I would almost expect it to be in here. But I don't even know what it is. On waking up from this moment, dream state of a download, I found pi. I was wide awake. I went downstairs, and for an hour and a half, I looked up what is pi and phi. I can see the definitions. I could see the examples.
It's in the seashells. It's in the seashells.
I know it's in the seashells. I could see that, but I get the definitions, I get the examples, but nobody knows where it comes from. What is it? What's the source? What's the authoring structure? If math is the language of existence, numbers can't just be conceptual. They have to refer to something that exists, or all the alignments are just going to be magical. I think that's seems like the correct logic, but I don't know. As a layman, it seems just like more and better and beautiful ways of finding the pattern. At what point does it become malleable? Can you use it? I don't know how to apply it to anything. It's kind of like those Tesla videos.
Tesla said if you want the secrets to the universe, you need to understand 3, 6, and 9. Now we look at this, see? We got 1 and 2, 4 and 5, 7 and 8, and then we got 3, 6, and 9. Ipso facto, Tesla was trying to show us how to manifest anything we want.
I'm pretty sure Tesla died penniless. I don't think that's what he was teaching.
Yeah, well, 3, 6, 9.
That's how it comes out to me. I don't understand, but I think you guys do. So let's get at it. We're going to do the same thing those guys are doing. Toss around some patterns and call them numbers. And we're going to try to see if we could find the patterns that all of the other patterns come from. And for the Tesla fans, for what it's worth, 3, 6, and 9 are the 3 times the self separates from the self, according to the SeRe GoBe math. Made visible by the golden BENTO, I did not put the math there, we're just recognizing it. It's inherent into itself. It's crazy and beautiful.
Welcome to Gutenhame.
We are 3 deep into putting this on this as we welcome mathematicians, scientists, physicists, metaphysicists, numerologists, 10-year-olds, anyone interested in the big question. If you don't know what any of that means, you should probably go back to tape 2. Part 1 was the hooks that we're going to go find right now. In part 2, we learned what this story was, which you should know, although you may be able to figure it out. Let's find out. If you're not a physicist or a mathematician or a general smarty pants, from here on out, things may sound audibly confusing, akin to dumping a bunch of puzzle pieces out on the table. So you're going to have the ability to put the puzzle together. And if you're a young budding scientist like me, what we're asking the scientists to do is use the deductive method for logical reasoning, for figuring stuff out, which means that this story may be just one big ball of poopy. Yet just for a little bit, the scientists are going to pretend that it's true, and then take everything they know and see if all of their knowledge matches this story, pretending that it's true. The fun part is that the experience this story is pointing to is more true than any thoughts that scientists and mathematicians can have about it. It's more true than any thought that can happen in the mind whatsoever. Remember, we're starting at deep sleep and ending at waking up. So the whole story is less than a second and includes no thought. Aside from pure pattern recognition, patterns are patterns, any thought you have about this is probably closer to exactly wrong than wrong. So you want to bend your knowledge of physics and math to the story as opposed to try to change the story to match the other way. It'll be the wrong direction. So, or you guys do both, I guess. Sorry, I'm talking to 10-year-olds and physicists at the same time. I should probably stop that. But while we have a 10-year-olds here, or invite them in, we're going to see if we can find the structural piece missing in the theory of everything, which is one of the things we want to achieve. Right? If I understand correctly, the theory of everything is relativity, which is how big things work, quantum mechanics, how small things work. They both work off of different rules that do not intersect or interact. What's the piece in the middle that connects them? I know nothing about it. But this was the craziest hook that we gave with the least chance of finding. And we said a 10-year-old who knows nothing about physics will be able to figure it out. So welcome 10-year-old. Take a look at this piece here. There's 3 squares. I'm going to call this square nothing. We're going to call this square everything. And we're going to call this one in the middle you. What's your name? Timmy, Sally, Joe. There's too many names. My name is Ross, but that's just one of my names. I have a whole bunch, and they're all names that other people call me. What's your name that you call yourself, but nobody else calls you? Like if you wanted to tell your mom that you were hungry, you would say,
Serving wench, the king is famished.
I am hungry. We're going to use the name I for right here, because that's the name we all call ourselves. Okay, so if I change the definition of nothing to small things, and I change the definition of everything to big things, what's in the middle? Nice, I. All right, that might do it, but just in case, let's do one more. We're going to call this home. Home is where the most love is. It is the best place to be. It's also fun to leave home and go explore. So we're going to leave home and we're going to leave a path so we can find our way back. Because once you leave home, you can always turn back.
Once you leave home, there's always 2 directions that you can go.
Once you leave home, there's always 2 directions that you can go.
Once you leave home, there's always 2 directions that you can go. Once I leave outwards to go explore, I can explore as long as I want. We can just keep on adding game pieces onto our board. And they get bigger and bigger and bigger. Going outwards will never take you home. If you want to get home again, you have to turn around and go inwards. It's a totally different direction. But it's okay because we always leave a path. You can name your path anything you want. I'm going to name my path time. Time is whatever path I take to go out and explore. But you can never get lost because home is where the heart is. So you just turn back and you go all the way back to our original game board, the heart, where everything gets smaller and smaller, ending up at nothing. Just to check again, what did we call the piece that was in between nothing and everything? In between the small things and the big things and moving outwards and moving inwards? I. All right, thank you so much. Now go outside, ride a bike, have some fun. And scene. Illustration. It may be that simple. We may have missed a piece that's coming up. If I can help it, I'm not going to say where the discoveries are and aren't, so the horde of morons who don't know how to discover won't know what's there. They won't say, haha, you failed. because they won't know where the discovery is or is not. The discovery is for you to make, for those who know how to put the puzzle pieces together. Everyone else is just going to hear some form of,
Mommy, the sun is round and yellow, and my lollipop is round and yellow, so my lollipop is the sun.
and as a functioning member of the horde of morons, this is how I hear it coming out of my own mouth, and I won't know either unless you tell me. And please do, because I got everything in this. And the SeRe GoBe and its derivatives are how the Gutenhame love machine is going to be funded. It has to be self-funding. This is the seed. This is the code of the seed. I'm looking for people who might want to see the flower, because no one's going to buy this painting unless you tell them how sweet it is. And according to the sweet SeRe GoBe, the middle of everything should be a form of seeingness or a form of emptiness, and or both. This is the math of seeing. This is the math of the torus field, which includes the math of seeing, which is not a something, it is the absence of a something and that which knows all somethings. Would it be correct in all of your scientific and mathematic functionings and smartnesses to say that outward looking sees the Danish and inward looking sees the whole? Whether those two things are related to which direction a mind is facing is unknown to me, but there's only a few structures available in this thing, which itself is nothing in the beginning of everything, and if you saw part 2, you know what that means. At the end of part 2, we also switched languages from I to 1. We're also asking the question if I and 1 structurally are the same thing in the way that cup and mug are words that point to this single thing. The words don't matter, what they're pointing to matters. Since we're dealing with the first structure, if I and 1 point to things, do they point to the same thing? Like the state of oneness. So let's pick up the pace a little bit, and I'm going to give you the math that is embedded in this, revealed by the golden BENTO. And it's the overlapping of both of the maths where things get exciting. Two structures joining. It's my current version of it. It changes, just like science. When new stuff comes in, it changes all the time. It's very fascinating. So remember, the event-driven structural version is the math of 2. First event, the arising of the self. Out of the self, it is the experience of oneness. Yet there's two things there. If I were to give this to you, you'd have to receive both at the same time. So it's structurally correct. First event, then light, then you leave yourself, then you stop, then the sound snowman happens. You leave at the head, enter in the heart of the body, switch to the mind, open the eyes. And what you see when you open your eyes is the next panel, which is unnecessary because that panel is what you are experiencing right now. That's the events. So in the math of 2 seems to be like that, an experiential math. It doesn't really match anything else. It's its own thing. If we switch these two things apart and go to the math of 3, that matches the Fibonacci sequence, 1, 1. Even logically, if we wipe everything clean, start with 1 and pretend no other numbers exist, how do we get to 2? There's only one way. 1 has to make a copy of itself. Easy peasy, but 1 is gone. It's like 1 had to destroy itself to make 2. Where did 1 go? If you know what 1 is, 2 does not exist. But when 2 exists, there's no 1. And structurally, 2 can't see 1. Just like the eyeball doesn't know itself, it can only see in front of it. If you go back to 1, 1 as 2, what can 1 do? It can only make a copy of itself. So you go from 2 to 4 and you skip 3. That's when I went to look up how cells divide or things in nature, maybe to see how they do. If 1 makes 2 copies of itself, then 1 and 2 can exist together, which exists in nature, but it's not common. There's all these different patterns, but they seem to come from 1 making a copy of itself. The math of 3 fits that perfectly. In the math of 3, SeRe GoBe has the cleanest potential output. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 would be the next panel, which is not necessary to create the greatest painting possible, which is what I'm doing, so it can be left off. Energetically, it's the waking version of the holy BENTO. which is actually best summed up by just putting another version of itself like this. This is one of the most accurate versions of the total experience that this is referring to. And the most accurate version is probably this one, but I cannot make the black one until I know what the white one is first, because the last panel will become the first panel. I can't shrink down. So really, you start with the greatest, and creation condenses itself. But I need to know the last panel of the other one for here, so I can't make those just yet until I find out the correct first part, which we're calling self-revelation. Getting back to the holy bento while awake from where you are now, through whatever means like meditation, would generally be called self-realization. Coming out the other way is self-revelation, the literal revealing of yourself to yourself as yourself. One moves inwards, one moves outwards. And the most striking outward movement in all of them is here. We know this is 6. Movement actually creates the spiral of the 6, which if our presentation were to be like super correct, the 6 should actually look like a 9, and the 9 should look like a backwards 9. You could also reverse it, which is funny because in bed this is a symbol of intimacy, and this is like two people mad at each other, which is closer because 6 and 9 are separations. We know this is 6. We know this is movement away from itself, which probably makes this 5, because part of you stays and part of you leaves, but both parts are whole. So there's a structural alignment between the math of 3 SeRe GoBe and the Fibonacci math, which has no 4. So the math of 3 heart bento has 3 panels. We know this is 5 and 6, so what is 4? Is it time? I look at it like this. Whatever's in the heart bento, which is the math of all things, makes a copy of itself into the next panel. 5, 6. The 2 would become the 5, and it is an upside down 5. 3 would become the 6, and the 4 would be the 1, or the 1 would be the 4, the background. The 1 and the 4 is the 1. We say that a lot here. This is another connection between the math of 3 bento and the Fibonacci, because the Fibonacci math is just addition. It only deals with 3 components. We start 1 plus 1 equals 2. And you just take the first one, and that goes to the 4th spot. And the next one goes to the 5th spot. That's pi. Does the next, holy shit. Does the next one go to 6? 3, 1, 4. So what you're witnessing here is a 55-year-old man discovering the poetry of mathematics like a 5-year-old would. We just found the pattern of pi inside of a mathematical sequence which reveals the golden ratio, golden rectangle, golden spiral, which are 3 things that are one thing, but which is phi. I didn't know they were so intimately connected when I looked it up after the... But the answers always come back in math language, numerical language. I don't get it. And I just looked it up again, and AI says there's no connection between pi and the Fibonacci sequence. Only phi. So this is probably for metaphysics and mathematicians, which is kindergarten for you, but you know my excitement. That was a real-time discovery. In case you missed it, the Fibonacci sequence is just simple addition. The Fibonacci math only deals with 3 things. You start with 3. It's 1, 2, 3. The 1 moves to the 4th spot. Then the other one will move to the 5th spot. And the next one should be 2 to the 6th spot, but there's a 9 in there. I don't know what that is. But somewhere in here we go over that the 6 actually should make the shape of a 9. That's pretty exciting, but that is not how I found pi. We have to go to the math of 4 bento to do that. So we found a better version of pi within phi while telling the story of how we found pi, which is the most ridiculous thing ever. Yet I suppose finding a pattern that is riddled throughout the universe is probably not such a big deal. What we want to do is find the original structure that the pattern comes from. And to do that, we're going to use the math of 4 SeRe GoBe. So let's go find it. And that brings us to the magic of the MO4 Math of 4 SeRe GoBe, which I was not even going to make, but it was a mathematical possibility to be the greatest painting possible. So I did it. And a couple of days later, I was like, well, let's shrink it down from the 4-inch to the 1-inch pieces. This version is in 4x. 1 is the 4, 4 is the 1. No, that's not on purpose. It was an accident. But if this one, the Math of 2, gets chosen as the best one, it'll get shrunk down to this big. This 4x version is the one for art collectors, people who really love art. Remember, the scientists say people heal 32% faster in the presence of original fine art. How do we get that to 42, 52, 62, etc.? This is my answer to that, but I need to find people who are crazy enough to give it a try with me. Someone's got to test it out and own it. In the Math of 4 SeRe GoBe, the Math of the Golden BENTO is in alignment with the math of the story. It's the two overlapping mathematical stories where it gets exciting. And this is my favorite way to tell the story. Narratively, the absolute does not know itself. It is itself. This is the story of it revealing itself to itself as itself so it may know itself. And to do that, it needs two things: its nature as nothing, and then its self as consciousness. And then it reveals to itself its quality as everything, as light, which we're positing here is the form in which everything exists at the same time. Light is that form. And that's the heart bento, the first three things that arise out of the absolute. Its nature as nothing, its reflection as self, its quality as everything. Nothing, self, everything. Those are all singularities, meaning there's nothing else to be. That's the only thing there. You are the only thing that exists. There's no confusion about it. Then the math of everything makes a copy of itself. The 4 becomes the 5. 5 is a copy of 4, which is a quality of 1. That's why I like the Math of 4 bento, the storytelling bento, because it includes all the parts. The beginning, where all the swirl happens, just call it by panel, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is a good place to introduce the maths. It's nice and quick, and I think whoever invented Roman numerals had this very exact experience. 1, 2, 3, 4 is the 1. 1V makes a copy of itself, V1. The 5 is what the common denominator between both. Then we have the Fibonacci math, which you cannot ignore. It's like a magic math. It's a magic lens which reveals things. It reveals the golden bento and the golden ratio and the golden mean spiral. It reveals a story which revealed its own math because of the golden bento. And earlier we even found pi in its basic, most kindergarten structure of addition. And then we have straight definitional math, where the absolute would be null set, the mathematical definition of nothing, nothing, nothing. Then we have 0, which is a known quantity, just with the quality of nothing, matches exact. Hat tip to Kazimir Malevich, who called black square the 0 point in art. Then you have 1, the state of oneness. Now the holy bento is a structure. It's the state of oneness. Look at all the stuff in it. As a copy of the heart bento, the 5-6 panel is also a structure. The 4 is its own thing. It's a lone wolf, because it's actually just a quality of 1, of the absolute. That's why it doesn't affect anything, because the absolute already is it. That is the true omega. The alpha is its nature as nothing. The omega is its quality as everything. Now the holy bento is really the heart, but it's not the heart of anything yet. We need the light for it to be the heart of something. Each experience that happens reveals what comes before it. The heart bento is really the mind bento, but it's only experiencing itself. It needs the next thing. They're all singularities that only see, know, experience themselves. It's an odd conundrum. My favorite way to look at it is when the light appears, the absolute, which was null set, becomes phi. It's the symbol of the torus, with the eye as the hole in the center. Right? The absolute goes,
All right, I've seen 3 things come and go, but I did not come and go.
so the absolute kind of knows itself on 4, but you can't give a symbol to the absolute, so the whole thing really becomes phi. A torus field. but it's just the math of the torus field, the math of the mind. The next panel is the first instance of mind. It's best imagined on Photoshop layers. They don't go anywhere. It's 100% of your experience is the heart bento right now. But imagine those 4 layers making an experienceable copy of itself. The top one would be white. That was my first version, 2 white panels next to each other. And luckily, we found a way to see through the layers. But you can't make a copy of an empty space. So poetically, I like to imagine that's what moves up to 7, which itself is an empty space, but allows for separation. And the heart bento already is the empty absolute space making a copy of itself. That's what it is. It just takes 3 things, which then makes a copy of itself, and then the 6 moves away from itself. This is the cathedral bento. It's the battery. It's the first energy. It is a battery. It's potent. And for my money, out of all the first 13 paintings that we're putting out, it is the most aesthetically beautiful. My wife agreed with that too. It's stunning. So simple. The old cathedrals were batteries for their towns. This is the battery for all of creation. And as a copy of 4, 5 is the last singularity, meaning it's the only thing you can be. There's nothing else present. 6 is that something else, which moves away from itself. And as a copy of 5, which is a singularity, it also is a singularity and simultaneously duality, the first duality. Very much like consciousness in the Holy Bento, the first separation of self. Leaving the absolute, consciousness is the first ignorance. Returning to the absolute, consciousness is the first truth. It's a dual quality. It repeats in the 5-6 panel of the Cathedral Bento. So everything before 5, the Heart Bento, is an infinite expression. It has no edges to it. Here's a dramatization of what it's like to cross from the 4 into the 5. Did you catch it? Okay, well, let's try it again. You're not going to see it, but a change is going to take place right about here. Did you notice anything? No, but there was a little bit of knowledge that something happened. That's kind of what it's like. Let's try it one more time. Let's enter the infinite light of existence, which is the form and possibly only form where the sum total of all thoughts possible exist at the same time. And the change is going to occur here, same exact experience, yet now you are taking the view from the inside of a sun. It's still a singularity, an infinite experience, yet it has edges to it. It is a point of view, but you don't know that it's a point of view until 6 happens. Each consecutive event reveals that which comes before it. Now this kind of looking suggests a great many things. That a sun is a fully conscious, aware, awake being, possibly your first form, and every ray of light that emanates from a sun is equally as awake, aware, conscious. It's like sending out an eyeball. Whatever it sees, you experience in the middle. I would ask, does a photon work like this? A mini sun. We have a thing called an attention, which arises from the heart with the breath and is a floating eyeball. These 2 eyeballs follow it around. There are 10,000 objects in my room. I cannot experience a single one until I put my attention on it. It's a very beautiful form of seeing. It's all seeing. My question is a sun and a photon or a particle and the attention the same thing or versions of the same thing, or do they have the same math, the same equation, the same structure, the same algorithm? One of the hooks we were supposed to address was the quality of light as a particle and a wave. Perhaps the best way to do that would be to look at the structure from which light comes. How about an atom, proton, neutron? And if we made this a circle, it would suggest there's an electron field there. And if you like the math of 4, we'll put a hole in the middle. What's an electron? Does it by chance work like this? I don't know, but 4, 5, the structures surrounding 5 are a very tricky read, yet a very beautiful and rich contemplation. Very fun. After 5, everything is a point of view, individualized. And I would posit a question whether everything after 4 is made of light. Even the darkness is made of light. Once light is introduced, everything is made up of it. Remember, the first light is consciousness, which sees everything that comes after it. currently about 99% of your experience. And also remember that the entirety of it, the main point of the whole revelation, is showing you your first position that watches all of the other positions. It is an unbroken view throughout. You don't know what anything is. It's unscripted, uncreated, as if you were an audience member that's never seen it before. You don't know what anything is, yet you are in a state of pure knowingness. Very weird. We have the light of self-knowing, the light of existence, the light of creation. But since everything already exists, it's really just a browsable version of existence. The heart bento is not a browsable structure. Maybe think along the lines of existence becomes ether. That's 5 and 6, and of course 6 leaves itself in the form of a tube of light, best illustrated like this. However, multiple views start happening in this panel. That's why I like this. One view, the real view, is moving away from yourself like this. Artistic decision. There's also an artistic decision in the next panel, because the next panel would really probably look like this. And that's probably how it will be when it gets shrunk down to this small. Yet for these larger 4X versions, because there's multiple views, I made the inside of the tube on one side of the line and the outside of the tube the other. The two planes create the line, and 6 does create a line, which is probably pretty nice for the string theory guys, which I don't understand aside from the cursory elementary definition. But the first thing that happens in the mind is a line, a string, which is movement made up of your own self leaving itself. I think string theory takes a beating. I've seen a couple people say that it's not serious physics even, yet it matches the SeRe GoBe. It's all made out of you. You're experiencing every bit of it. So as the tube, you are moving away from yourself. The part that stayed, 5, the view is only a string as it gets farther from itself. And at some point that movement stops. We call that 7, or a sever in the moving energy. It just stops. In case I forget later, we should probably bring up the obvious structure. Did you notice it? That 7 may not just be a stop. It may be a structure made up of 6, 8, and 9. Visually it does, and it's very blatant. And again, I wouldn't discount anything in here. It gets freakish. This is just the beginning. And I don't know if I mentioned this in part 2. So in the tube as a tube, it just seems straight. From a view outside, you see the slight curve. It curves left. And from the point of view that you left, the 5 that watched this happen, also now a point of view. You are looking from it. And from this point of view, the stopping is way far away and down and to the right, which in me immediately pointed to the notion that you actually do move straight, but something was pushing against the line, which caused the curve. That was my first notion. I don't know if that's true. I've read since that Einstein said the universe is curved, or maybe time is curved. Time is curving. That's another 2 questions I have. Is the golden spiral an accurate reflection of time? 2, is the golden bento an accurate measure of momentum? It seems like they are from my looking, but I don't know. Right? Momentum is a compounding structure. Is it a compounding structure of time? It seems like it. I know you need a shit ton of momentum to reverse time or turn inwards, so it's relevant. Time itself is born in the holy bento along with consciousness. It's one of the parts to it. According to the SeRe GoBe, it is literally the path that a consciousness takes away from itself. It can stop, it can change directions, and it is unique unto itself. Time is an individual structure. For there to be a communal time, there needs to be a different structure present, like the skies and all the planets. There has to be a clock that everyone agrees on. And even then, your original time is greater than the thought-based communal time. There's 2 different kinds, according to the SeRe GoBe and this digestion of it. And this is where I remind myself, which I still have to do after all of this time, that this is the first structure. This is the first structure. For you, pretending this is the first structure. At what point would time relative to the first structure introduce itself or define itself? At what point from the first structure would energy appear or movement appear? Right? Einstein said nothing happens until something moves. What's the first movement, and how close is it relative to the first structure? This is also the first movement of light. Yes, creation light, the light of creation. I'm only assuming that it's moving at the speed of light, although I think the physicists just found out there is a short distance that occurs between entangled particles that may be just a quintillionth of a second. Who knows, but this is the light of creation moving away from itself. I'm assuming it moves with light waves. There's not a lot of things before this. Are there any oscillations that occur before the first movement of light that would create the math of a wave? Yes, we've made 3 visual versions of the oscillations that occur in the Holy Bento. Is that the correct math? It even looks like waves. Now, number 8 is where things get really exciting. Because out of this empty stopping point of energy that you are, emerges a very literal 3-dimensional figure 8 made out of sound. Ramp up, ramp up, ramp, and then you're in 9, you're in the tube again, which is the same as 6. And there was no correct way to run the line of 9 across 2 panels. That's why this top one is a double panel. Artistic decision, it had to happen. The visual story broke otherwise. And these were all made before I decided to do any math. I started with the math of 4, what we're on right now. We called things numbers. Noticed that, oh my gosh, the 8 is an actual physical 8. And, oh my gosh, it's a double upload in a double panel. And oh my gosh, the SeReGoBe 8 is in the Fibonacci 8 panel. And the 5 is in the 5 panel, and the 13 is in the 13 panel. Only in the math of 4 SeReGoBe. All simultaneously. I saw those at the same time. That's why there's a math lens on the table of discovery. And if you're into computer models of the universe, which I am totally, you can 100% consider 8 an upload or a download, or it literally loaded up for me, so it's a double upload. Or is it a triple? You leave at the head. And if I had my druthers, I would call it the causal realm, the astral realm, and then you shoot off to the physical realm. That interpretation comes from merging stories from great masters like Lester Levinson, who was a physicist, who went to the heights of mastery in spirituality, metaphysics, life. You can hear him yourself on YouTube. But in experience, there's no knowledge of what this is other than it's an upload made of sound. And the other blatant upload happened here in the Holy Bento. The arising of the self very slowly out of the self, but just to connect some dots and throw some spaghetti against the wall, I'm assuming the first upload is everything it takes to get to 7. And then you enter the causal realm, where you chose to play a video game called the astral realm, where you chose to play a video game called the physical realm. And those uploads took you to where you are right now. All of this is still happening right now. It doesn't go anywhere. Notice how the SeReGoBe works. Each consecutive bento includes all of the previous ones. They're all happening right now. Okay, 9. It's an easy one. A hair, a line, a thread, a tube, a filament of light, which is how you travel across whatever structure you're in, and then you enter into the heart of the body that you have now between the shoulder blades. Then you start all over. With what? With the heart bento. In my favorite version of this is the mountaintop. It is the crescendo. It is the Shangri-La. It's the end game. It's also very big and it can get very complex, so we're going to parlay that into the last part 4. But you have all of the math. You know what the heart math is. It's just everything repeats. And it's very exciting. We just spent all of this time, a mind moving outwards, sometimes at the speed of light or greater, to get to this point. If that energy were to keep going, your eyes would be projectors, not receivers. So right in the brain, we have a hard stop. The last hard stop that happened was number 7. The heart shining onto the mind can get so complex that you can go all the way to like 19 with it. This is the panel, right? When you open your eyes, what do you see? The earth, the world, the physical world. This panel is where physics begins. It doesn't cross into the SeRe GoBe panel. The SeRe GoBe doesn't cross into the physics panel. That's it's wonderful. It's so beautiful. If I start, I won't be able to stop, and I'm already 10 minutes over. I still have to get through all the hooks and make sure you have it. Did we forget any? Universe as a black hole? You got that one covered? It's just a form of seeing. A black hole is the same as a pupil. It pulls light in. Is it destroying everything? No. Everything you see is the same way. Can you see something twice? No. Do you destroy it by seeing it? Mirror systems everywhere too. Very easy. I'm almost married to the idea that time is the mirror. Wherever it meets a corner here, that's a mirror where it looks to see. The greatest version, even greater than this, is to go look in the mirror and let your pupil see itself. First thing, how long does it take you to recognize yourself? Instantaneously, and that's how many years you've been alive. Imagine being alive for all the years. And that's the recognition that occurs in the Holy Bento. Beyond ancient. Secondly, can you separate the reflection from the mirror? No, they're known together. Same as the Holy Bento. Consciousness is a direct reflection of absolute awareness. Then that becomes the new I. What does that do? It repeats the same process. So there's process mirrors like that. There's numerical ones like the Fibonacci 1-1 is the first mirror. 11-1-1 is the same exact mirror repeated. And there's other patternistic mirrors, particularly through the first singularities and all the way up until 7. And you jump to a new timeline. You could almost say that every number in here, besides 7, which is a unique stop, are reductions in consciousness. This is why I don't like the word consciousness. Everyone has a different version of it. But let's say every number in here except for 7 could be a reduction in seeing, or the creation of a new seer. Okay, what's next? I think everything should be apparent. Dr. Weinstein's 4 freedoms. So written in wisdom texts for thousands of years, often called spiritual text, because they use language like this.
Even God needed 4 to create. 3 was not stable enough.
And Harvard mathematical physicist Dr. Eric Weinstein came to the same conclusions using his means, physics and mathematics. Everybody's finding the same thing at the same time. It's so beautiful. And for my money, I'm giving him this one or this one. However, he does say you need 4 things to create everything, and this is everything. So his answers would be in the Holy Bento. This is how much stuff is in the Holy Bento, the first structure. Me, oh my, how can that be the state of oneness? Remember that this is really 2 panels and a space, and in its finest form is 1 panel. This is the experience, this is the structure, and all of the things that could possibly fit into this structure is the absolute not knowing, self-knowing, time, and thought. Things like masculine and feminine, that's all in the mind. Although you are born directly from the guru panel, so I would lean feminine. If there's a masculine, that would be the absolute, if you were to include it. Time is a dual structure. You can go inwards or outwards once you leave yourself, and the thought is a recognition of yourself, which is a duality also. One recognizing another. Although they're the same thing, there are no words. And I just discovered this last night. 5 things in the Holy Bento. 3 arise together. We have thought and time. The next one is the manifestation of all thought. The next one is the manifestation of time. I've refined things by talking to you at a very accelerated rate. It reminds me of the opening quote to Part 1 was a Richard Feynman quote that said, if you want to master something, teach it. I was curious about what he meant, but now I get it. Except I'm not teaching anything. This is a discovery, and I hope you're discovering with me. I think that's about it. We've gone over multiple times. We have a good understanding of the math and of the story, the structures, the patterns, which brings us to the sideshow ending. You know, over the past 5 years, anyone who has let me run this by them, bounce it off of them, I have said, bring me your smartest person on the planet. Bringeth forth the resident Einstein. They'll confirm everything I'm saying. They have to. We don't get a vote in it. And it just so happens, yesterday I saw a video from literally the smartest person on the planet, a young kid named Young Kim. IQ 178, I believe it said. An Asian kid, looked very young, the highest measured IQ. It's about a 3-minute video. He said, I can mathematically prove the existence of God 3 different ways with simple mathematical equations. His first one was a line. To make a line, you must put the pen down. There must be an originating point for creation to exist. If creation exists, whatever that first point is, that's the God. The second one was similar. It was about finding the originating point of time. The third one involved mathematics, maybe multiplication, which needs an escalating power. 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 always equals 1. It needs an advancing power of 2 or 3 for creation to occur, and creation has obviously occurred. We're in it. There is an originating structure from which all advancing power must come from. This is beautiful. This is why we have the intellect lens on the table of discovery. The smartest human on the planet has a thought. The art lens has a picture. The math lens has some numbers. Let's combine them. By chance, we already tackled the escalating math earlier. I don't know if it applies exactly. That leaves us with finding the starting point of the first line and the starting point of time. Luckily, both occur on the same line, which has a great many starting points. We're going to start in the holy bento, which means you have to pick 3 or 1. The 3 is structural, the 1 is experiential. We'll just do both. Time, it arises with you as consciousness here. It's part of you. It's not separate from you at all. And I don't want to say it's not known because it's known. I don't want to say it's not experienced because it's experienced. What do you call it? Through the first 5 singularities, it's kind of like the wind. No one has ever seen the wind. You can only see the effects of the wind. It becomes manifest at 6. The 5 is the putting down of the pen, and the 6 is the movement. It's like a close-up. Then we just change viewpoints as the experience starts to include multiple viewpoints. If you're going to play around with this, don't discount the artistic decisions made. I've been trying to illustrate them throughout. They're on purpose and relevant. So those are the 2 starting points that Young Kim was talking about. We'll continue with the math and see if we can do a math version of the story, but it won't be as good as the picture, which is a higher language. And one of the most beautiful things about the visual arts is that it's the only art form I can think of that does not necessarily occur over a period of time. Like a song or dance or writings, any kind of storytelling, even a bite of food has to cascade down the tongue. Although you can sit with a picture as long as you want, it is, 1, silent, immediate, complete, and it's not going to alter itself anymore. You are going to alter. And for our exercise here, instead of asking you what the singularities are, I could say which panels are empty, and there's nothing else to be except for themselves. Right? Easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where did our math go? Alright, so the first singularity is 3, the second singularity is 4. 4 makes a copy of itself into the last singularity, which is 5. 4 and 5 is 9. That's funny, a question mark kind of looks like a 9. And there's also a question mark in wheat for RAS.Wheaht from the Gutenhame equation in the proper spelling. Energetically, 9 is often known as a finality. This is the last singularity. And this also could be an omega panel. We have the seer, we have everything. This could be the last panel. It could just be whatever image you want. You don't need to go past this. This just happens to be the image that you're given. So it could be an omega finality. But I keep picturing it as a valley girl telling a story, as if math is a language to tell a story.
5 is like the last singularity, and you're about to go on a roller coaster ride that looks like this. And even though you're the same, you're going to be like a duality now, and your name's not going to be 5 anymore. It's going to be totally 6.
So 6 is a split, it's a separation. The second separation in our story, it's the first panel with a visual separation, but it's a numerical split. The next panel is going to be a panel split. So as presented, this is where the line of time becomes manifest. It knows itself through separation because now it's in front of itself. Everything before it were singularities. One, I. There. You dig? So let's split the 6 and put the other one where it belongs. This is the experience of time now, so we'll put it next to the 1 for experience. In the first experience of separation was the split of 1. And the 6 even makes a 1. It's a line. Yeah, it's you. And when you're done making a line, you make a figure 8 out of sound. Although there is an extra circle, that's the head, but it doesn't fully form. You don't really know what it is. Remember, everything is from an audience point of view. It's beautiful. You have no idea what's happening or what's going to happen next. And whatever happens next kind of reveals what came before it, which creates a different kind of math if you're one of the ones who are going to play with the patterns here. And the only thing you can really say about 8 is that it's an upload made of sound. And it looks more like a snowman, but you're making this out of yourself. The closing and the ramping up is a thing. So I can't really say what it is, but if I were to look at it like through a mathematical point of view, and I'm still trying to find out what 1 is, so a grain of salt. Just to take a wild guess at it, I would guess that somehow 8 is an upload of 3s. But only the first 2 are visible. The third one doesn't manifest. It just turns into a 9. What are we supposed to do with that? This is my first time hearing it out of my own mouth. I feel like I need to sit with it for a couple months at least. My mind is telling me,
No. Dude, you are like a 3-year-old who found a stick and you're calling it a lightsaber. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Do not eat. No.
3 decades it's been doing that. But we had the smartest guy on the planet. It's literally twice as smart as me. I don't even know how to imagine that. Or I'd be as smart as him, I guess. He made it simple. If you want to have a line, there must be a first point. If time exists, there must be a first point of time. For a line or time to move, there must be an advancing power. It would be recognized mathematically. Well, equations like pi and phi, they are advancing powers of mathematics and repetitive, patternistic. For pi and phi to exist, there must be a first instance of them. This is the first structure. This is the first structure. This is the first structure. You can't go back any further. Unless I'm missing something, we just found the first instance of pi and phi while trying to find the first instance of numbers. What 1 means, 2 means, what they point to. We keep tripping over pi and phi here for the second time, and they're connected again. And we tripped over them by naming our story with numbers instead of names, and we told the story of the SeRe GoBe with numbers, and we got pi and phi again. Which logically means, I think, that this is the story of pi and phi. And would you expect anything less from the greatest painting possible? How many stories and patterns do you think come out of the heart BENTO alone?
That's right. All of the stories and all of the patterns.
So this is fun. Unless I'm crazy, where's young Kim? We need your brain power. According to the Gutenhame SeRe GoBe math, with this current digestion of it, the definition of the first instance of pi using the first instance of numbers is the path the absolute takes out of itself as consciousness through the first 5 singularities into the first duality, which is 5, 6. That's where phi starts. The first instance of phi, using the first instance of numbers, is the behavior of that first duality as it moves away from itself. Makes a 1, turns into an 8. There's an extra circle there, but so does 8. It has an extra circle. The first instance of math is like conversational, not rigid and structural.
Yo, boss, we got a problem here with the 8. It's got 3 parts to it. I only got room for 2 parts. We either gotta raise up all the other numbers and make them bigger, or we gotta get rid of one of these circles.
I'm not making all the other numbers bigger because of that stupid 8. Just cut the head off that snowman and stick it right next to it.
What about the 9? Well, that circle turns into a 9. Should I connect them?
Humans are gonna have this. They're stupid. Tell them that the 8's made of trees and then make the third one a 9.
We had an extra 9 in pi. We skipped right over 7 here too. That's an anomaly. But 7 is a complete emptiness. A single point of consciousness floating in an immense, infinite expanse of 4, or existence. Or is it the structure of 6, 8, and 9? Or 6, 7, 8, and 9? From the side view, 6 leaves 5, maybe 6 stops here, and this is 7, 8, 9. But that doesn't match the rest of the math. Now we can start using math to find out the story without changing the story. This is where we wanted to be. The math that matches for 7 is this 7 right here, and this mirrored inverted 7 right here, a double 7. One of them connects to 6, which runs across 2 panels. One of them connects to 9, which runs across 2 panels. 6 and 9 are the same experience and mirrored, inverted versions of each other. The other spine of the 7 runs straight up through another double structure of 8 inside of a double panel, which makes an 8 in the Fibonacci 8 panel. So the current Gutenhame definition of 7 would be that it looks like this, but from the top view, looks like this. I don't know why I didn't include 7, but I did see one the other day called, forget it, I'll put it up. But it was a constant 6174. I'd explain it, but I don't remember it. But it was about mirroring and inverting. And instead of going through the mirror system that we went through earlier, a folding system is better, where each one folds into the next. It's cumulative. Things don't disappear. It's the line of time, but this line of time is now. It's all included, all happening now. Past and future belongs to the thought-based clock time, which is just a thought. You can get rid of that. You are the now timeline. That is your path out of yourself, according to the Gutenhame and this digestion of it. Remember, I'm just an artist presenting my findings. We have the science lens because we don't want you to believe any of it. We want to test it all. It's fascinating, right? It's intriguing. We got a little clearer adding math and intellect on top. It gets richer. And let's close it out with a little different lens, and I'll meet you in tape 4. We'll go through again. It took an hour to go through. We learned a whole bunch. We'll keep on doing that, and it just gets better and better and better and better. Do you see that spiral right there? Well, there's 4 things making that spiral. They're all in the shape of eyes and ones. They're part of the same system facing in the same direction, so they can't touch each other. They're part of the same thing. It needs something separate from itself in order to be known. It's the same thing, but different. It's on the same structure, but different. It starts its own line. What comes after 5? 6 leaves itself and then stops. Now we have a double structure. This structure has 2 bones. This has 1. The 9, which leaves itself again. Where does the arm go? Into the heart. Where does the 9 go in the SeReGoBe? Into the heart. There's your double 7s again. According to phi, we have a double 8 coming up, which is exactly what happens. The 8 panel we just left was a double panel. A double 8 would suggest that the next panel might be 4. The physical heart is one piece of muscle folded into 4 pieces. What do you see when you open your eyes? The earth. The earth panel is the 13th panel. The 1 is the 3, and the 1 is the 4 occurs there. The heart shines onto the mind, which sees the earth, projected onto the ether, maintained by the breath. Earth, heart, ether, breath. That's my last installment for Dr. Weinstein's 4 Freedoms. And that's our experience here on Earth, the game of the heart. What you hold in your heart, you see on Earth. Earth, heart, ether, breath are all anagrams for each other. There's only 2 letters left. Ebb.
Life has ebbs and flows.
If you want to own the first version of the greatest painting possible, you may do so in 2026 at Gutenhame.com only. There will never be a middleman. If you want the second greatest painting possible, which is the first 4 greatest paintings possible folded into one, please do, and don't delay. It's a gift. It's here for a reason. And now is the time. I can give you the Word version for free, but this one I have to sell. But if everything goes right, it'll be the last painting I ever have to sell. And to never have to put a price on a painting again, ever, is my dream. But to be able to give them away. And I'm just an artist trying to make his dream come true. What's the greatest I can do as an artist? What's the greatest I can do as a human? What's the most love you can put in a painting, and what's the most love you can get out? What's the greatest thought possible? What's the greatest experience possible? What I love to do the most is paint nature, landscapes, trees, forests, woods, and groves. Nature already has all of the secrets in it.